His right-hand man was Kang Minho, childhood friend, head of security, the kind of loyal that came from shared blood and shared secret. His financial manager was Park Soo-jin, a woman as brilliant as she was ruthless, who could make money disappear and reappear across 3 continents without leaving a single trace. His younger brother, Lee Yi-won, managed day-to-day club operations, the glamorous face of the business, charming clients, while Yi-sung handled everything that required steel instead of smile. The organization was tight, efficient, profitable. Yi-sung was respected and feared in equal measure, never cruel without purpose, but capable of extreme violence when necessary. He'd built his empire on control, controlling his emotions, controlling his people, controlling every variable in his environment. He never wanted what he couldn't have because he made sure he could have everything he wanted. At Eclipse, beauty was currency, visibility was power. The most beautiful people worked VIP rooms, better tips, easier work, access to wealthy clients who might become benefactors or husbands or both. The less visible worked ground floor, harder work, lower pay, no advancement, just survival. Suri had been ground floor for 6 months. Her choice, her camouflage. She'd come to Seoul 3 years ago on a student visa, business degree from Yonsei University, graduated with honors, got a good job in marketing at a respectable firm. Then her visa status got complicated. Paperwork errors, bureaucratic nightmares, lost documents, appeal denials. She lost the marketing job when they couldn't sponsor her legally anymore. Took the Eclipse bartending position because it was cash under the table, no questions asked, survival income while she fought through immigration hell. She was smart, educated, capable. But the system had forced her into shadows, so she'd learned to live there, hair always in a tight bun, minimal makeup, work uniform 2 sizes too big, hiding her body, hiding her beauty, hiding herself, eyes down, smile professional but distant. Korean spoken with careful neutrality, accent minimized, presence minimized, existence minimized. She made drinks with mechanical efficiency, went home to a tiny Gashiwan room barely bigger than a closet, sent money to her family in Nairobi, fought her visa case with lawyers she could barely afford, and tried not to exist too loudly in case immigration noticed her. She'd been invisible so long she'd forgotten what it felt like to be seen, to be wanted, to be anything except afraid. Everything changed the night Minju made a bet that Suri was too afraid to take. Eclipse thrummed with Friday night energy, money and bodies and music colliding in expensive chaos. Zuri made drinks with practiced efficiency, invisible behind the bar, just another pair of hands serving another round of overpriced cocktails. She'd perfected invisibility over 6 months. The tight bun, the minimal makeup, the oversized uniform, the downcast eyes, the professional but distant smile. She was exactly as unnoticeable as she needed to be. But tonight, her coworker Minju, a Korean girl who worked VIP floor, beautiful and very aware of it, leaned against the bar during a rare quiet moment. I bet you couldn't get into a VIP room if you tried. Suri didn't look up from wiping glasses. I don't want to get into VIP rooms. Because you're scared. Because I'm smart. Minju laughed, sharp and bright. I bet you 1 week's tips you can't walk into Boss Lee's private room tonight and get him to notice you. Suri should have said no. Should have kept her head down, kept invisible, kept safe. But something about the way Minju said scared, like Suri's invisibility was cowardice instead of strategy, made her pause. And that pause was enough. Suri accepted the bet. Stupidest decision she'd made in 3 years. Bravest decision she'd made in 3 years, maybe both. Minju produced a dress from her locker, red designer, probably left behind by some VIP client who'd had too much champagne and too little clothing accountability, form-fitting, backless, the kind of dress that made invisibility physically impossible. Wear this. Walk into Boss Lee's room during the 11 p.m. VIP meeting. Stay for 5 minutes. Get him to acknowledge you exist. That's all. The bet was stupid, dangerous, could get her fired, deported, worse. But Zuri was tired. Tired of being invisible, tired of survival mode, tired of feeling like she was disappearing a little more every day. She took the dress. 10:45 p.m. Staff bathroom, fluorescent lights, cracked mirror. Zuri changed out of her shapeless uniform and into the red dress. It fit like it was made for her body. hugging curves she'd been hiding for 6 months, showcasing skin she'd been covering, transforming her from invisible to impossible to ignore in the span of a zipper. She took her hair down. Natural curls that she usually straightened and pulled back sprang free, wild and beautiful in hers. She added real makeup, not the minimal professional mask, but actual color, actual enhancement, actual artistry. She looked in the mirror, didn't recognize herself. For the first time in 6 months, she looked like the woman she'd been before visa problems and survival mode consumed her. She looked beautiful. It terrified her. She almost backed out. Then she heard Minju's voice in her head. No, she wasn't scared. She was done being invisible. D:52 p.m. Fourth floor. Executive level. Security everywhere. Zuri walked toward Ye-sung's private office, heart hammering, every instinct screaming to turn back. Security tried to stop her. Two men in black suits who didn't recognize her because they'd never seen her before. I have a delivery for Boss Lee, she said in perfect Korean, voice steady despite the terror. They hesitated, confused by the disconnect between her words and her appearance, but not alarmed enough to physically stop her. She walked past them. Opened the door. The VIP room was smaller than she expected. Leather couches, low lighting, expensive whiskey on the table. 8 men in suits discussing business she didn't understand, shipping routes, payment schedules, territory disputes, and Lee Yi-sung at the head, signing documents, not looking up. The room went silent the moment she entered. Everyone stared. She stood there, heart hammering so loud she was sure they could hear it, feeling exposed and visible and terrified and alive all at once. I'm sorry, she started in Korean, voice not as steady now. I was told to deliver. Lee Yi-sung looked up, and the world stopped. His eyes, dark, calculating, cold as winter, traveled from her face to her body to her face again, not leering, assessing. Like she was a problem he was trying to solve, a variable that didn't belong in his equation. Who are you? His voice was quiet, controlled, dangerous. I work downstairs at the bar. I was told. I know everyone who works here. He stood, and the movement was predatory, controlled violence wrapped in expensive fabric. I don't know you. I've been here 6 months, sir. Ground floor, night shift. Something flickered in his eyes. 6 months. He'd never noticed her. Never once looked at her face in 6 months of walking past her bar. In that dress? No, sir. This is borrowed. Why are you here? She could lie, should lie. Instead, she chose honesty wrapped in defiance, a bet. I was supposed to get you to notice me. Silence. Then Minho laughed from the corner, breaking the tension. Bold Yi-sung walked toward her, slow, deliberate. He was taller than she'd expected. Broader, his presence filled space and made air feel thin. He stopped inches away, close enough that she could smell his cologne, expensive and understated, close enough that she could see the exact moment his pupils dilated. I notice you. His voice was low, meant only for her. Now take that dress off. Zuri's face went hot with humiliation. Excuse me? Yi Sung's expression didn't change. Still that cold, calculating assessment that made her feel like an object being evaluated for purchase. Take that dress off. You're not wearing that where anyone else can see you. He turned to Minho without waiting for her response. Get her something appropriate. Sir, I don't understand. You will. He went back to his desk, dismissing her with body language, returning his attention to documents like she'd already ceased to exist. Minho approached, surprisingly gentle for a man built like a wall. Boss isn't insulting you, he said quietly in English, recognizing something in her expression. He's protecting you. That dress in this club sends messages you don't want to send. Come with me. He led her to a side room, storage space filled with staff uniforms and supplies. Handed her an Eclipse staff blazer, black, professional, corporate. Wear this over the dress, boss's orders. Suri was confused, embarrassed, angry. But she put on the blazer. It covered her from shoulders to mid-thigh. The red dress still visible beneath, but muted, controlled, less exposed. When she returned to the main room, Yi-sung finally looked satisfied. Better. Sit. She should have left. Should have collected her bet money and run. Instead, she sat on the leather couch, blazer covered, still visible but less vulnerable. The meeting continued, but now everyone was watching her. Confusion, curiosity, amusement dancing across faces. Why was Boss Lee letting a random bartender sit in on confidential business meeting? Yi Sung ignored her for 15 minutes, discussing territory disputes and payment schedules in rapid Korean business language that she understood perfectly, despite pretending not to. Then, without looking up from his documents, "You speak Korean well. Where did you learn?" "University." "Yonsei, business degree." That made him look up properly. Really look. "You have a business degree from Yonsei and you're bartending?" "Visa problems. Couldn't keep my marketing job." "What kind of visa problem?" She explained: "Bureaucratic nightmare, paperwork lost in system, appeals pending, technically illegal right now, while waiting for status adjustment, working under the table because she had no choice." His face was unreadable. "You've been here 6 months." "Yes. Making drinks, staying invisible." "Staying invisible." "Yes. And tonight you decided to be visible." "Tonight I was tired of being invisible." He stood, walked to the window overlooking the club floor below. Hundreds of people dancing, drinking, spending money in his empire. "Everyone who works for me, I know their names, their situations, their ambitions. I notice everything." He turned, and there was something new in his eyes, something almost like respect. "You've been here 6 months and I never saw you once. That takes skill, intentional invisibility." "Why?" "Because being visible when you're undocumented is dangerous. And yet tonight you walked into my office in a dress that makes invisibility impossible. Brave or stupid? Maybe both." His mouth twitched. Not quite a smile, but close. "You can go now. Minho will make sure you get downstairs safely. Collect your bet." She stood confused by the entire interaction, unsure if she'd won or lost or what game they'd even been playing. As she reached the door, he spoke again. "What's your name?" "Zuri? Zuri Kamau." "Zuri." He tested it on his tongue like he was tasting wine, evaluating quality. "From now on, you work VIP floor. Better pay, better hours, legal employment contract. I'll handle your visa situation." She turned, stunned. "Why would you?" "Because I notice you now." His eyes held hers, dark and intense and possessive in a way that made her stomach flip. "And I protect what's mine." Suri left the room with her mind spinning. Downstairs, Minju was waiting, expecting failure and mockery. Instead, Zuri handed her a week's worth of tips. She'd won the bet and announced she'd been promoted to VIP floor. The other bartenders stared in shock. Minju looked stunned, then suspicious. "What did you do up there?" "I have no idea." But 4 floors above, Lee Yi-sung was pulling up security footage from the ground floor bar. 6 months of archived video. 6 months of Zuri being invisible, hair pulled back, uniform shapeless, head down, hands moving efficiently. 6 months of him walking past without looking. Now he couldn't stop looking. He rewound to earlier tonight. Watched her change from invisible bartender to the woman in red. Watched the transformation. Watched her become impossible to ignore. Who is she really? He murmured to himself. Minho, still in the room, said carefully, "Boss, you're watching her too much. People will talk. Let them talk. She's an employee. You don't get involved with employees. I'm not involved." "Then why have you been watching bar footage for 30 minutes? Yi-sung didn't answer. Because he couldn't explain it. Couldn't explain why a woman he'd never noticed now occupied his thoughts. Couldn't explain why the idea of other men seeing her in that red dress made him want to break things. Couldn't explain why invisibility suddenly felt like the worst loss he'd never known he'd suffered. He'd spent 36 years in perfect control, and Zuri Kamau had just shattered that control without even trying. Zuri started working VIP floor the following Monday. The money was better, triple what she'd made downstairs. The work was easier, serving expensive clients in private rooms, making cocktails that cost what she used to make in a week. But visibility came with complications. Male clients hit on her constantly. Subtle at first. Compliments, excessive tips, requests for her specifically to serve their tables. Then less subtle phone numbers slipped into her hand. Dinner invitations, hands that lingered too long when she served drinks. She handled it professionally, deflecting with practiced skill. But it was exhausting. Then there was Cho Hyun-woo, 40-something businessman, married, wealthy, connected to people who mattered in Seoul's power structure. He became obsessed. Sent her gifts, expensive jewelry she returned, designer bags she refused, flowers that filled the staff room with cloying sweetness. requested her specifically every time he visited, touched her arm, her waist, her lower back, pushing boundaries incrementally, testing how far he could go. She rejected him politely at first, then firmly, then bluntly. One night, he cornered her in the VIP hallway. One night, name your price. The offer wasn't subtle, wasn't ambiguous. I'm not interested, Mr. Cho. You work at a nightclub. Don't act innocent. I serve drinks. That's all I do. Please step back. Playing hard to get, I like that. Makes it more fun. His hand reached for her waist. She stepped back, professional mask cracking. Touch me again and I'll break your fingers. He laughed, actually laughed, like her resistance was performance, like her boundaries were negotiation. Feisty. I'll pay extra for feisty. Upstairs in the surveillance room, Lee Yi-sung watched the hallway camera feed, watched Hyun-woo corner Zuri, watched her step back, watched the man's hand reach for her, his own hands clenched on the desk edge hard enough to hurt. Min-ho noticed. Boss? Who is that client? Cho Hyun-woo, regular VIP, spends about 50 million won a month. Ban him, sir? Ban him from all our properties. Permanently. Effective immediately. He's a major client. Yeah, one will. I don't care if he's the president. He touches what's mine, he's done. Minho studied his boss's face, the barely controlled fury, the possessive rage, the complete abandonment of business logic in favor of something far more dangerous. You're watching her too much, boss. I'm watching enough. This isn't like you. I know. You're losing control. I know. Yi Sung stood, grabbed his jacket. Send Hyun Woo's band notice tonight. Make it clear why. Make sure everyone knows why. He left the surveillance room, descended the stairs 3 flights, emerged in the VIP hallway where Zuri was still dealing with Hyun Woo's aggressive persistence. Mr. Cho, Yi Sung's voice cut through the conversation like a blade. Hyun Woo turned, smile faltering when he saw who was speaking. Boss Lee, I was just leaving, permanently. You're banned from Eclipse and all associated properties. What? Why? Yesung stepped forward, positioning himself between Hyun-woo and Zuri in a move that was pure territorial claiming. Because you can't follow simple rules. Don't touch the staff. Don't harass the employees. Don't mistake professional service for personal availability. This is ridiculous. I'm a loyal client. You were a client. Now you're trespassing. You have 2 minutes to leave before security makes you leave. Hyun-woo looked at Zuri with sudden understanding and hatred. This is about her. You're banning me because of some African. He didn't finish the sentence. Yusung moved faster than Zuri had ever seen anyone move, grabbed Hyun-woo by the throat, slammed him against the wall hard enough to rattle the decorative art. Finish that sentence and you'll need surgery to eat solid food again. His voice was winter itself. Death promise wrapped in silk. Hyun-woo's face went purple, then white. Yi-sung released him, stepped back, adjusted his cuffs with deliberate calm. Leave now. Hyun-woo fled. Zuri stood frozen, heart hammering, unsure what she'd just witnessed. Yi-sung turned to her, and his eyes were still dark with barely controlled violence. You're okay? Yes. I can handle drunk clients. You shouldn't have to. It's part of the job, not anymore. He stepped closer and she could feel the heat radiating from him, the adrenaline still coursing through his system. Not for you. Anyone touches you inappropriately, you tell me immediately. Understand? Why do you care? The question hung between them. He looked at her for a long moment. This woman who'd been invisible, who'd walked into his office in a red dress, who'd somehow become the only thing he could see. Because you're mine, Zuri. And I protect what's mine. He left before she could respond. Left her standing in the hallway, heart racing, mind spinning, understanding finally clicking into place. Lee Yi-sung wasn't protecting an employee, he was protecting a possession, and she didn't know if that terrified her or thrilled her. After the Hyun-woo incident, word spread through Eclipse like wildfire. Boss Lee had banned a major client over the new VIP server. The African girl, staff whispered, speculated, made assumptions. Zuri tried to ignore it, tried to keep working, tried to maintain professional distance. But Yi-sung made distance impossible. 2 nights after the ban, he told her to stay after closing. The club emptied, staff gone, security minimal, lights dimmed to emergency level, music finally silent after hours of assault. Just the two of them in his office. She was nervous, unsure, still wearing her VIP uniform with the blazer he'd insisted she wear over anything too revealing. He poured 2 glasses of whiskey, expensive amber, the kind that cost more per bottle than she made in a month. Sit. She sat on the leather couch, accepting the glass he offered, hands wrapped around it for something to hold. Something to ground her. I don't know if I'm protecting you from the world or from myself. They sat in the quiet office, city lights glittering through floor-to-ceiling windows, two people with different kinds of invisibility. Hers imposed by survival, his chosen as armor. I should go, she whispered, but didn't move. Stay, not a command, a request, a vulnerability he'd never shown anyone. She stayed, and in that staying, everything changed. They sat in that office for another hour, talking about things neither usually shared. Childhood traumas and adult fears, dreams deferred, and hopes maintained despite evidence they should be abandoned. It was past 3 a.m. when Yi Won burst through the door, urgent and panicked. We have a problem. Yi Sung's expression hardened instantly, walls slamming back into place. What? Immigration raid scheduled for tomorrow. Someone tipped them off about undocumented workers at Eclipse. Yi Won's eyes flicked to Zuri, then back to his brother. They have a list. Her name is on it. The room went cold. Zuri stood, panic flooding her system like ice water. I need to run. If they catch me, I'll be deported. I can't. My brother, I can't. You're not running. Yesung was already on his phone making calls, lawyers, officials, contacts, and immigration enforcement. But Yi Won was shaking his head. This isn't random, Hyung. Someone specifically targeted her. They want her gone. Sujin entered, then, tablet in hand, face grim. I have footage, exterior camera from 2 days ago. She played the video. The screen showed Minju, the coworker who'd made the original bet, who'd given Zuri the red dress, who'd seemed like an ally, meeting with a man outside Eclipse. Money changed hands. Audio was faint, but Sujin had enhanced it. The African girl, Zuri. Boss is distracted, losing focus. Get rid of her. I'll make sure immigration knows exactly where to find her. Zuri's stomach dropped. Minju, the woman who'd given her the dress, who'd made the bet, who'd seemed like a friend. She'd set Zuri up from the beginning. Sujin provided context. Minju was sleeping with Cho Hyun Woo. When Zuri rejected him and boss banned him, she lost her primary income source. This is revenge. Yi Sung's control shattered. He threw his whiskey glass against the wall, sudden violence that made everyone flinch except Zuri, who just watched with a strange detachment, mind trying to process betrayal layered on top of danger. Find Minju. Bring her here. Now. Minho nodded, left immediately. Yesung turned to Zuri, and his face was a mask of barely controlled fury. You're not getting deported. I don't care what I have to do, who I have to pay, you're not. You can't stop immigration with money. Not when they have a specific tip, specific evidence, my name on an official list. Her voice was shaking. I have to run, disappear, maybe go to Busan, or no, I don't have a choice. There's always a choice. But his voice was desperate now, not controlled. For the first time since she'd met him, Lee Yi-sung looked afraid. 20 minutes later, Minho dragged Minju into the office. She was defiant at first, chin raised. I don't know what you think I... Yi-sung played the footage without preamble. Watched her face drain of color as her betrayal played out in high definition. You tried to destroy her because your client got banned. She ruined everything. Minju's voice rose, hysteria creeping in. Hyunwoo paid me well. I had a future. I was going to. And she just walks in with her African ass and ruins everything. She doesn't even belong here. She defended herself from sexual harassment. She should have just slept with him. Everyone does it. But no, she had to be all righteous, and Zuri moved faster than anyone expected. One slap across Minju's face, hard enough to leave a rising red mark, hard enough to make Minju stumble. You used my trauma against me. Zuri's voice was shaking with rage. You pretended to be my friend. You gave me that dress knowing what would happen, knowing I'd become visible, knowing it would put a target on my back. And when I didn't play your game, didn't sleep with your client, you tried to get me deported. She stepped closer, and Minju actually backed away from the fury in her eyes. Do you understand what deportation means? Do you know what happened to my brother when he was deported? He's dead? Minju? He killed himself because the shame was too much. And you tried to do the same thing to me for money. Minju was crying now, mascara running. I'm sorry, I didn't know. You didn't care. Yi Sung's voice cut through. Minju, you're fired. Blacklisted from every club, bar, and entertainment venue in Seoul. If I ever see you again, immigration will receive a very detailed file about your own visa violations and tax evasion. Minho escorted her out, still sobbing. The office fell silent. Zuri slumped into a chair, adrenaline crash hitting hard. Even if you pay off immigration this time, they'll come again. Minju will keep trying, or Hyunwoo will, or someone else. I can't stay in Korea. I have to leave, go back to Kenya, or try another country, or marry me. The words fell into the room like a bomb. Everyone stared. Zuri looked up, certain she'd misheard. What? Marry me? Ye Sung crossed to her, crouched in front of her chair, taking her hands in his. Spouse visa is immediate, unassailable. Immigration can't touch you if you're married to a Korean citizen. You can't be serious. I've never been more serious. You don't love me. You barely know me. I know enough. His grip on her hands tightened. I know you're brave, intelligent, resilient. I know you make me feel something other than empty. I know I can't stand the thought of you being forced to leave. This is insane. Yes. We've known each other 2 weeks. I don't care. This doesn't have to be real, he continued, words tumbling out in a way that suggested he'd been thinking about this longer than the last 5 minutes. We'll stay married until your permanent residency is approved. Then you can leave if you want. Divorce? Disappear. Whatever you need. And if I don't want to leave? His eyes met hers and something shifted. Something raw and possessive and terrifying. Then you don't leave ever. We have less than 24 hours before the raid, Sujin said, pulling up immigration databases on her tablet. If you're serious about this, we need to move now. I'm serious. Yi Sung hadn't taken his eyes off Zuri. Marriage registration takes time. Paperwork, processing approval, emergency marriage. If we marry tonight, registered documented official, her status changes immediately. Sujin's fingers flew across her tablet. Immigration can't deport a Korean citizen's spouse without extensive review process that takes months. How do we marry tonight? I have contacts in the registry office. It'll cost, but we can do it. Yu Sung finally looked away from Zuri, turning to Sujin. Make it happen. Boss, make it happen. He turned back to Zuri, still crouched in front of her chair, still holding her hands. It's your choice. I won't force you, but decide fast. Zuri's mind was spinning. This morning, she'd been a bartender. Tonight, she was being proposed to by a mafia boss to avoid deportation. Her life had become a K-drama. She thought about her brother, about the shame that had killed him, about the weight of deportation and failure and dreams crushed under bureaucratic indifference. She thought about the red dress, about visibility, about being seen. She thought about Yi-sung calling her mine like possession and protection were the same thing. Maybe they were. Let's do it, she whispered. They had 6 hours until midnight, the cutoff for same-day registration. Sujin coordinated with ruthless efficiency. Documents gathered from Zuri's apartment, massive bribes paid to open the registry office after hours, witnesses arranged Minho and Ye-won, marriage certificate forms printed and filled. Wedding attire was improvised. Sujin raided Eclipse's VIP Lost and Found. Found a white cocktail dress someone had left behind. Not a wedding dress, but close enough. A suit jacket for Yi-sung. He always kept extras in his office. Zuri changed in the private bathroom. White dress, borrowed heels, hair down in natural curls because there was no time to straighten it. She looked at herself in the mirror. This morning, invisible bartender. Tonight, mafia boss's bride. Ye Sung appeared in the mirror behind her. You look terrified, beautiful, but yes, also terrified. Are you sure about this? He turned her to face him, hands on her shoulders, eyes intense. I've never been sure about anything, but I'm sure about you, and I'm sure I won't let them take you. This isn't just about visa status anymore, is it? No, it hasn't been for a while. What is it about then? It's about keeping what's mine, and you're mine, Zuri, whether you wear a ring or not. She should have been scared of the possessiveness in his voice. Instead, she felt safe. D47 p.m. They left Eclipse in a convoy, Hee-sung's car, Soo-jin following with documents, Minho and Yi-won as witnesses. 11:03 p.m. Arrived at the registry office in downtown Seoul, government building closed to public. One official waiting with obvious irritation in a manila envelope fat with cash. 11:15 p.m. They stood before the official and prepared to make promises neither fully understood but both absolutely meant. The registry office was small, bureaucratic, fluorescent lit. Nothing romantic about it. The official looked annoyed at being called in after hours, but money was money. He processed them with mechanical efficiency. Names: Lee Ye-sung. Zuri Kamau, witnesses, Minho and Yi one step forward, provided identification, signed preliminary document. The official ran through legal requirements in rapid Korean that Zuri barely followed, her mind spinning too fast for language processing. She was about to marry a man she'd known for 2 weeks, a man who'd told her to take off a dress and somehow meant protection instead of insult. A man who watched her on security cameras and called her mine and made her feel terrified and safe and wanted all at once. 11:27 p.m. Do you have rings? They didn't. Yesung removed a signet ring from his pinky, family crest, solid gold, probably worth more than her year's salary. Slid it onto her thumb, the only finger it would fit. Temporary, he said, but his eyes said something else. The official continued with legal language about rights and responsibilities, property and custody, dissolution and annulment. Clinical. Transactional. Nothing like the wedding Zuri had imagined as a girl in Nairobi, dreaming of white dresses and church bells and family gathered in celebration. But when the official asked, Lee Yi-sung, do you take this woman as your lawfully wedded wife? And Yi-sung said, I do, while looking directly at her. There was nothing clinical about his eyes. They burned. 11:34 p.m. Zuri Camus, do you take this man as your lawfully wedded husband? She should hesitate, should think this through, should do anything except what she did. I do. By the power vested in me by the Republic of Korea, I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may. Yi-sung didn't wait for permission. Kissed her before the official finished, hand cupping her face, thumb stroking her cheekbone, possessive and gentle all at once. The kiss was claiming promise. Territory marked, the official coughed awkwardly. Sign here. They signed. Documents stamped. Marriage license issued. 11:41 p.m. 19 minutes to spare. Outside the registry office, Zuri leaned against Yi-sung's car, breathing hard, reality crashing over her in waves. I just married a mafia boss. I just married a bartender. He stood in front of her, blocking wind, blocking world. Best decision I've made in years. You're insane. Probably. He took her hand, the one wearing his ring too large, sitting on her thumb like a promise. But you're safe now. Immigration can't touch you. Hyunwoo can't touch you. No one can. Except you. His thumb stroked her wrist, finding her pulse. Especially her phone buzzed, notification from Soo-jin. Immigration officers were at Eclipse. The photo showed officials checking documents, scanning employee lists, looking for targets. But Zuri's name wasn't on the raid list anymore. Her status was updated in the system, married to Korean citizen, pending permanent residency review, untouchable. But victory had a cost. Yewon's call came through 10 minutes later. Cho Hyun-woo, still angry about being banned, about losing Minju, about being humiliated, had filed a police complaint about Eclipse's business practices, claimed he had evidence of illegal operations. It was retaliatory, desperate, probably groundless, but it could trigger investigations that would hurt Yi-sung's empire. Yi-sung took the call in the car, face hardening as he listened. How bad? Bad enough. We might have to shut down Eclipse temporarily, lose revenue, lose clients, lose momentum. Do it, shut it down, clean house. I'm not giving them ammunition. He was willing to sacrifice his flagship business to protect her. Zuri heard the conversation, understood the cost. You don't have to do that. You can. I'm not negotiating about this. His voice was final. You're more important than a nightclub. Meanwhile, Minju made one more move. Posted on social media about Zuri stealing her life, about Ye-sung being bewitched by a foreigner, racist implications thinly veiled in Korean netizen language. It went semi-viral in Seoul nightlife circles. Comments piled up. Some supportive, some viciously racist, the internet doing what the internet does. But Sujin handled it with ruthless efficiency, released the security footage of Minju taking money to report Zuri to immigration, released evidence of Minju's own visa violations and tax evasion, released testimony from 3 other employees about Minju's harassment and theft. Within 24 hours, Minju was the pariah. Her social media accounts deleted, her reputation destroyed, her friends abandoned her. Poetic justice. She'd tried to make Zuri disappear and ended up disappearing herself. That night, in Yi-sung's penthouse, where Zuri now legally lived as his wife, they stood on the balcony overlooking Seoul. City lights glittered like diamonds scattered across velvet. "This is insane," she said, "We got married to avoid immigration. We barely know each other. This whole thing is right." He pulled her against him, back to his chest, arms wrapped around her waist, chin resting on her head. "This whole thing is right. I don't care if it's fast or crazy or makes no sense. I've spent my entire life being careful, calculating every move, controlling every variable. And then you walked into my office in that red dress and I stopped caring about control." He turned her in his arms, tilted her face up to meet his eyes. "I just wanted you. Is this real?" She whispered. "Or are we just playing roles until my visa's approved?" "It's real. It's been real since I told you to take that dress off. Because you didn't want anyone else seeing me. Because I couldn't stand the thought of sharing you, even with strangers' eyes." His hands framed her face. "I'm not good at love, Zuri. I'm good at possession, at protection, at keeping what's mine. But maybe that's enough. Maybe that's how I love." "It's enough," she whispered, tears sliding down her face. "You're enough." He kissed her then. Not the quick claiming kiss from the registry office, but the kiss he'd wanted since she first walked into his VIP room. Deep, possessive, protective, perfect. He lifted her, carried her inside, kicked the bedroom door closed behind them. And for the rest of the night, they discovered that marriage licenses were just paper. What they had was fire. 3 months passed like seasons turning. The immigration raid found nothing. Suri's status was legal. Other employees' documents were clean. Eclipse passed inspection. Seonwoo's police complaint went nowhere. No evidence. Obvious retaliation. Case closed within a week. Eclipse reopened after renovations. Cleaner operations, legitimate employment contracts, zero tolerance for harassment policies actually enforced. Minju disappeared from Seoul entirely. Rumor said she went back to her hometown in disgrace. Zuri's permanent residency application progressed smoothly, lawyer managed, well-documented, Korean spouse giving her priority status. Everything had changed. Zuri didn't go back to bartending. Yi Sung insisted she didn't need to work, offered to support her, give her anything she wanted. She refused to be dependent. Instead, she took a position as cultural consultant for his businesses, helping Eclipse and his other clubs appeal to international clientele, training staff on diversity and inclusion, using her business degree finally for something meaningful. She was good at it. The clubs became more profitable, more respected, less shady underworld, and more exclusive international destination. She was transforming his empire without trying, and he loved watching her do it. Yi Sung was different now, still dangerous, still powerful, but softer around the edges. His staff noticed he smiled occasionally, laughed at Zuri's jokes, left work early to have dinner with his wife. They couldn't believe it. Lee Gi-sung, ice that couldn't melt, had melted. He wasn't less powerful, he was more human. And Zuri had stopped being invisible. She wore what she wanted. Sometimes the red dress that started everything. Just to see Yi-sung's possessive reaction, he still hated anyone else seeing her in it. Would drape his jacket over her shoulders immediately. She spoke Korean confidently now. Had friends, real ones, not coworkers. Existed loudly, visibly, joyfully, no more survival mode. She was living. Their marriage had started as transaction. It became real somewhere between take that dress off and you're mine. They fought sometimes. About his overprotectiveness, he still watched security cameras too much. About her independence, she refused to have a driver, insisted on taking subway, about boundaries and possession, and the difference between protection and control. But they were solid. He came home to her, she waited for him. They built something neither had expected. Partnership wrapped in possession, love expressed through protection, freedom found in belonging. One evening they were at Eclipse. Redesigned now, more elegant, more international. Zuri was meeting with vendors about entertainment booking. A new bartender, another African woman, Nigerian, nervous and trying to stay invisible, spilled a drink. Security moved to fire her. Zuri intervened. Give her a chance. Everyone deserves a chance. The girl looked at Zuri with desperate hope. Thank you. Zuri smiled, remembering herself 6 months ago. Just don't take any bets about walking into the boss's office wearing red. That particular strategy only works once. Later, Yesong asked about it. You saved your job? You saved mine once, paying it forward. He pulled her close, possessive as always. You're not allowed to pay it forward if it involves other men in red dresses. She laughed, standing on tiptoes to kiss him. Deal. They said she didn't belong in his world. They were wrong. She didn't belong in his world. She transformed it, and he didn't save her. She saved herself. He just made sure no one could take her light away once she finally let it shine. If you believe love can be possessive and protective and empowering all at once, hit subscribe right now. Comment where you're watching from: Kenya, Korea, Nigeria, Ghana, London, New York. Some small town where nobody looks like you or understands your dreams. Doesn't matter. You're here. You're part of the story. Your voice matters. Your presence matters. You matter. Tell me in the comments what you want to hear next. The Nigerian doctor who became a mob boss's most dangerous weapon? The Ethiopian translator who knew everyone's secrets? The Ghanaian CEO who fell for her Korean bodyguard? The Tanzanian art thief who stole a keyball's heart? This is our channel, our space, our empire of stories where we belong, where we're seen, where we're chosen, where love looks like protection and possession and partnership, all wrapped together. Let's go.